Hi, you are welcome to GMath class. Now today we want to look at SURDS. SURDS. Now let's start with the definition of SURD. What are SURD? SURDs are irrational number. SURDs are irrational number. So there's a need for us to know what an irrational numbers are. Irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be expressed as fractions. Numbers that cannot be expressed as fraction is what we call an irrational number. Okay, so what is irrational number? Irrational numbers are numbers that can be expressed as fraction. What we say, they are numbers that can be expressed in the ratio of two integers. Alright, so SURDs, just like I've said, they are irrational number. Example, we have square root of 2. Square root of 2 is an irrational number. This number cannot be expressed as fraction. So now, if we have square root of 4, look at this. This is not going to be a SURD because this is what we have inside here is a perfect square, and 2, the answer is 2, and 2 can be expressed as what? As a fraction. So that makes it to be a rational number. But once we have square root of rational number whose answer is a irrational number, so we call such a number a SURD. Now let us look at the rules that guides operations in SURDs. So the first one is square root of x times y. That gives us square root of x times square root of y. 2. Square root of x plus y gives, it is not the same thing as square root of x plus square root of y. Now let's take note of this. It's very, very important. Now the third one, we have square root of x over y. That's square root of x over square root of y. Okay, now let's look at this. Square root of x minus y is not square root of x minus square root of y. So these rules are very, very important when solving problems in SURD. Now another thing that is also important when solving problems in SURD is to know the basic form of a SURD. So a SURD is in its basic form if the number in the root is not a number that can be expressed as a multiple of a perfect square. Now what I'm saying is this. Look at this number 11. This 11 cannot be expressed as a multiple of perfect square apart from 1. So it cannot be expressed as a multiple of perfect square. So we say this SURD is in its basic form. Alright, so now let's look at this number, square root of 12. Square root of 12 is not in its basic form because it can be expressed as multiple of a perfect square apart from 1. So it can be expressed as a multiple of a perfect square. So this 12 now is going to be 4 times 3. 4 times 3. Why 4 is the perfect square? So this gives us square root of 4 times 3. 4 times 3. You can see this is a perfect square here. And applying this law 1, we have square root of 4 times square root of 3. Okay, so that gives us 2 square root of 3. So this is the basic form because what we have inside here cannot be expressed as a multiple of a perfect square. Alright, so whenever you have a number inside the square root which cannot be expressed as a multiple of a perfect square, we say that SURD is in its basic form. Let us look at some examples. Now simplify the following. A square root of p square p square root of 72 and c square root of 24. Okay, so now let's look at these questions. Now the first one, we have square root of p square q. Now you can see in the square root we have a perfect square. So this is square root of p square times square root of q, applying this law 1. And when you do that, that gives you p times square root of q, and that gives you p square root of q. So this is going to be the answer, p square root of q. Now let's look at the second one, square root of 72. Now I have to check, is this number in its basic form? Now let me think of a perfect square that will go here apart from 1. So you think of 4, you think of 9, you think of 16, you think of 25, you think of 36. Now looking at it now, you see 36 will go here. So this will be square root of 36 times 2. Okay, so whenever you are giving any SURDS expression, all you just need to do is look for a perfect square that can go in it. A perfect square that can go in it. So you begin to think of 4, 9, and others. So you see this one, 36 goes here. So and we have 36 times 2. So this gives us square root of 36 times square root of 2. And that gives us what? 6 square root of 2. And this is the answer. So that means this number now, this SURDS is in its basic form. Now let's look at the third one. I have square root of 24. So let's look at it. Is there any perfect square that can go in this? Let's look at it. What perfect square will go in this one? So I think 4 will go, because 4 is the first one. 4 goes here, is going to be 6. So we have 4 times 6. And that gives us square root of 2, 4 times square root of 6. Square root of 4 times square root of 6. And that gives you 2 square root of 6. So this is going to be the basic form of this number. So you can see it's just as simple as what we have here.